And this is Arrows and Acres, a podcast for families building something that lasts, with Daniel and Allison Hartman.
Yeah. We're raising up arrows, we're working the land, a husband, a wife, and a God-given plan. And no shortcuts, we're doing this right. Building a family that shines in the night. Arrows and acres, faith, family, home. You were never meant to do this alone. Arrows and acres, let's build something real. Welcome to the show. Let's go.
So today we are going to be talking about the day we stopped fitting in, a countercultural path that we've chosen to take.
You are weird.
We are weird.
How many children do you have?
You don't let your children have phones?
Video games? They don't ever make them go outside and play? No TV in every room of your house?
And how many children do you have?
Yeah. You know what causes that?
That's right. And your children that's weird.
Y'all actually do stuff together and have fun. And
now, how many baseball teams are your children on?
yeah.
None?
Oh, you have enough for a baseball team. Yeah.
That's why we don't have to have them play on a team.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
the
right.
laundry list is pretty long.
So everybody that's listening or watching, the big question is, did you start out to be weird?
In some ways I did, but no, I've always wanted to fit in. I mean, that's just the nature of life, is you want to feel accepted. You want people to like you. You don't want to be left out of the circle. You don't want to have, this, and I'm an extremely shy person growing up. I really, really, liked people to like me.
I was such a follower in high school. And it's funny, people that don't know me then but know me now are like, I'm such a leader. I'm such a pioneer. And I really just wanted to fit in and of course made a lot of bad choices because of wanting to fit in with the wrong crowd. But yeah, I definitely wanted to be in the normal crowd.
I think that's the draw of humanity, is this wide path. Go with the flow, go with the crowd, don't make waves. It's just all these things that tend to lower, I would say, reasonableness to follow Christ, to do what the Bible says, because we are a peculiar people. It says those that live godly in Christ will suffer persecution, or to enter into his sufferings. That is not something that we just are gonna oh, let's go like Jesus. I just want to go get crucified on a cross, I mean, that's he sweat great drops of blood and said, let this cup remove from me. I don't want to go through this.
And so, we were kind of on that wide path. And when we first got married, we told the pastor that was going to marry us, we're going to have 4 children because it's going to be our decision. We make that plan. And we went and bought the house that everybody has to have, went into debt, $100,000.
You said 4 children.
Okay. We both said 4 children.
I lied.
You wanted 12. You didn't tell me or the pastor.
I would have scared them both
I probably would have run.
And I knew that. So
he didn't tell me he was wanting 12 until
But then again, it's
we found out we were having number
really?
6.
Yeah, I never even shared it.
But we bought the house. We went into debt.
Yeah.
We bought the minivan. Went into debt.
Yeah.
Did the things that everyone else. We both went to college. You graduate from high school. You go to college. Well, why?
She got speech and debate.
Because that's what you
I
did.
got engineering, imagine.
He just about had everything Daniel does is very engineered. And everything I do is using my
Speech and debate.
communication.
Yeah.
So, which is funny.
Yeah, so I was halfway
going to
there.
college
I was
for things
halfway
that we
to a master's degree in environmental engineering.
And if you watch our show long enough, you'll figure out I'm the communicator. He's the engineer. Everything's planned and structured. And I'm just, I just kind of.
But we're just weird. I mean, there's just no other really way to put it. And that's okay. And we're okay with that.
Well, we're weird now, but not from the beginning. Now, when you were in your young age, you decided to start skateboarding, which in the skateboard world, teenagers don't turn out great. So.
Oh yeah, the scene was the goth culture, heavy metal music, and at a young age,
Back in the 80s.
I had no father, and just randomly, I was baptized when I was 8, I was saved when I was 5. Just randomly, I heard a sermon, just challenging, everyone, like, read your Bible and be a 3 percenter, and because
Mhm.
3% of Christians have ever read their Bible. And like, well, I was for whatever reason, I just decided I was gonna read my Bible. And so I read it from cover to cover. It started in Genesis, and then I kept reading and reading and reading. And then by the time you read it through 4 or 5 times, everything in your mind is just flipped into God's viewpoint. And, and even then you're just at the beginning. So the skateboard music was, Metallica and Slayer, and then I would put in my Christian heavy metal music, and I'll sing you some of the songs one day. It's pretty hilarious.
So talk about the social pressure, some of the criticism that you faced, even maybe from extended family, even churches, just because your family's unique and you live by your convictions. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I know we were in church in this fairly large church in our town, and they put in the bulletin, if you don't enjoy our Christ-centered.
Okay, okay, so we were going to this church for
And we had like 4 or 5
a
children at that
while,
time, or
and
how
they
many
had they
children?
had put a note in the bulletin that said, in order to enjoy the service here the most, here's a top 10 list for visitors, things you can do. And the number one thing was, please, if you have children under the age of 4, please enjoy the Christ Center nursery. And then number 2, if you choose not to enjoy the Christ Center nursery, please enjoy the service in the foyer. And, when we read that, we thought,
And at my mind, of course, the engineering, is like, if my children aren't welcome, I'm not welcome.
yeah, and so that was probably one of the first times in our marriage that we really had to make a decision to go against the grain. Because even though we were in church, it was still a very it was a mega church. So, they did a lot of things that were kind of accepted. And so for us to even not put our children in the nursery, which we didn't, we did some, but as we learned more, we realized I really want my children at home. In fact, what happened was our oldest went to children's church. And then when you're 4, you're kicked out of children's church. And I realized she couldn't sit still to save her life. She wiggled and talked, and she couldn't sit still because she had never been trained to sit still. And I get there's times where children's church is necessary, especially like a single mom who's struggling to hear and keep them not just, they're distracting everyone around them. I get it. But for us, we really wanted them
And
with
it's
us.
it's really not about any other thing, and I think this is where we just, like, just stray off the path. If it's and I'm just overly simplistic. If it's not in the Bible, why do it? And I don't wanna condemn anyone, I don't wanna condemn any churches, I don't wanna condemn anybody, programs and all this stuff, but they can have them, because if I don't see it in scripture, I'm just not gonna do it. It's just that simple.
And so we were already realizing that program driven churches were just not for us. And so at that time, we decided to back away and leave that church.
Well, and again, it's just like, it's not in the Bible, so why do it?
We
Why
wanted
why spend effort and time and energy on something, when Jesus had his Sermon on the Mount, it was with 5,000 men and then their wives and their children, which equaled up to 20,000, whatever number that is.
So we wanted to find that family integrated, but we didn't even know that was a thing back then. We just knew that, but yet that was an example of kind of pulling away from what would be normal, a path of a typical Christian. And then, there's been other times
So
when,
as the offering plate goes by, I put the bulletin in the offering plate and sign my name. And I said this statement: if my children are not welcome, I'm not welcome. And they changed it based, the pastor called and they changed it. But I mean, you kind of know if they're going to put it there, they really mean it, even though they didn't quite say it the way, palatably to think that one through.
and I don't think they even had ill intentions. I
Mm.
think they were doing what they think people expect. And until our eyes were open, once we started going to a true family integrated church, we didn't realize the benefit of having multi generations do church together. You don't understand what it's like to have a toddler you're rocking a toddler in your lap, but then all of a sudden that toddler becomes a 3-year-old who's raising their hands, worshiping in church.
And praying. Like, our children pray. Like, during prayer time, they pray at a young age. I mean, it's amazing. But again, it's not condemning anyone. It's just like, what did God do? He said, forbid them not. Don't deny children. If we come to God, we come as a little child. And culturally, we're pushing the children away. The father is pushing them away, and the parents are pushing the children out, saying, "Well, you're not. I need my time. I need my thing." But again, what did Jesus do? He said, "Let them come to
So
me.
that was kind of the
Don't
start of it.
forbid them."
And then probably family size was the next big hurdle.
How many children are you having? You're
Right.
pregnant? I am so sorry.
Yeah. Why would you
Like,
want
why
to do
would you
that?
do that to your body or your health
I remember I
or
called my grandma when I found out we were having number 4, and she just really couldn't believe it. And the funny thing is, she had 4 children, but she said, "Yeah, but it's not like it is when I was growing up." I'm like, "Yeah, Grandma, we have AC in our cars now. It's amazing." And but
in our house? I mean,
right, but it was just that the paradigm that was being crammed into the families of this world's mind, that having more than 2 children was just ridiculous. And so I can remember early on as a newlywed that, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to go down that road? Because we are going to, the more children we have, the more friends we lose. Your inner circle gets really small the more children you have.
like, think about the birthday party, like, when we're invited, like, for
We
so
never
many
get invited.
years.
Yeah.
Like, never.
We
Like,
never get invited
because
to
if you
big
invite
parties.
1, you invite 13. A lot of people, like, that's a whole birthday party,
Yeah.
for most people, like,
We're invited over
so
to
you're
people's
not
house for dinner.
it's not invited.
Things that um things that are just a nice thing to have our family invited. It doesn't happen very often. Now, don't feel sorry for us. We have such awesome families and friends that we do enjoy their fellowship, and they love having us over, and vice versa.
Well, but that's come with time, but
Yeah.
initially, when you get that, you just realize that no one's inviting you over because you have a big family. It's
But you just find
like,
you
which one do
find
you
your
wanna give back? I mean, not really, but,
yeah.
I mean, that's kinda why people don't have more
That is
children.
true. Yeah. The reason to not have children seems so ridiculous when you think about the blessings that the ones that you have. So yeah, we did definitely, thankfully, we didn't get a lot of criticism from our immediate family, meaning like the moms and the grandma and grandpas. His mom was very much wish she had had more children. Sadly, she was divorced early on, and so she never had them. So she was very encouraging. My parents, I came from 6, so they always,
Good Catholic family,
yeah, they were a good Catholic family to begin with,
Turner Presbyterian.
but they definitely were positive. But then the other, extended family, even siblings, aunts, uncles, yeah, it was definitely not an accepted thing, and they let us know it. But we had to change our motive, who we were trying to please. We had to realize early we weren't having children or not having children to make someone happy. Our goal was to do what the word said, and we felt like the Bible is very clear that children are a blessing, and we're not going to deny a blessing, just like I wouldn't chop my arm off if it was, if you asked me to. That would be just as foolish. And so we're definitely of a very unique mindset that we're going to let God choose the size of our family, and we did. And that didn't mean that we would have 11. It might have meant that we only had 1 or 2.
Or just to be open. Really, it's just what does it mean to walk with God? It just means to be open to what He has for you, and that may look so incredibly different for each person. We're not a cookie cutter. I think just really the openness for God to work is what He wants. He doesn't expect us all to look the same.
That is a misnomer. A lot of people misunderstand us. They think that
It's not a numbers.
it's a
It's not
number thing.
a
You just want to have
yeah.
lots and lots of children. In fact,
No, no.
now in the news media, there's so much criticism on large families. It isn't about the number of children you have. If you're seeing people in the news right now that their children are making bad choices, it's not because they came from 19 children. It's because they had children that became sinners that made bad choices for their life. Just like a small family can have a child turn out making bad choices as well. So it wasn't about a numbers
Right,
game
and
for us.
it's truly again and again, I can't say it enough, it's truly about discipleship. It's truly about me not being a hypocrite. I think that's probably I can only change one person and I'll stand before God alone, and likewise each that hear my voice. There's not gonna be an intermediary other than Jesus Christ, and my children see through anything I do that's for the wrong motives as hypocrisy. So, again, it's just having that pure heart, that pure motive, that realization that our children are watching everything that we do.
But in answer to this, I think the bottom line for us is we had to come to a place where we just stopped caring what man thought. We had to stop caring if we had no friends, which was a potentially a possibility. I can remember
Again, a lot of stuff we didn't get invited
one
to
of
on
them.
purpose. Everybody else got invited, we didn't, so
Yeah, yeah. I can remember a friend, which sweet girl, came from great intentions, but she made just a comment about, now you're going to quit nursing your baby at 1 year of age because that's what the books say. And I was like, oh, yeah, definitely, because that's what the books say. I better do that. So I remember going to this doctor of mine, this OB, and he was not a believer. He was not conservative. In fact, he himself had left his wife for his secretary, not a morally good guy, sadly died at a young age. But he said to me, because I asked him, tell me how to quit nursing because this friend of mine says I should. And he said, okay, I mean, I can make that happen. But before I do, let me ask you, I just want to make sure I understand. You want to quit nursing your baby, which is good for them and good for you, and you love it and your baby loves it because of something someone said. And I was like, pretty much. He said, that doesn't seem very smart to me. And I thought, huh. And I ended up nursing that baby for 2.5 years, which is a little weird, but trust me, there's weirder things I've done. And so
we'll tell you someday.
but that really, God used that man to really give me a wake up call. Who are you trying to please, Allison? Are you really doing things because it's the right thing to do for your children? Or are you doing it to please man? And I think as parents, and we'll go into talk about other things that we've done that have been very countercultural. So one of our advantages has been that we work in the public school, private school setting. So we're seeing what I would say most parents are doing. And I don't say that in a critical way. It's just, we work with the general public. And so what we're finding is that the general public, they're doing the best they can with the resources they have, which is the reason we're doing this podcast to reshape people's minds and let them think they do not have to raise children with the flow of traffic. They can raise them against, like Daniel's shirt is raising our children against the culture. And we realize
It just introduced the word paradigm. It's just basically a comfort zone. It could be at any strata in society. The in a paradigm shift obviously is out of your comfort zone. Something going from a basically a non-Christian worldview into a Christian worldview is a paradigm shift. And we had that growing up, as we are in culture, and then what we're our children are already starting off with a heavy paradigm shift, building on what we have learned, and wisely so, learning from all our mistakes,
that's good.
and not having to just understand all this stuff. And because we have this close relationship, and I mean, that's really what the purpose of marriage is to have our children walk closely with the Father. And as we're growing in Christ and growing close to the Father, our job as parents is in a healthy marriage is to show how Christ and the church interacts and how they interact with God. And he speaks in a still small voice. He doesn't speak when we read the word. It's not going to be like in flashing lights and glitz and glamour and the best graphics of the video game. It's just a still small voice saying.
And most parents, as they're parenting, they tend to just use whatever paradigm they're used to. It's whatever their parents taught us. And if we're not careful and we don't actually intentionally pick a paradigm that matches what the word says, you're going to go with what culture says no matter what. It's just going to happen. And so in that same line of thinking, if a married couple doesn't have that same paradigm, you're going to have problems. So if the dad is pushing towards heavy discipline and the mom's into gentle parenting, you're going to have major problems. And so we're going to always encourage people to first of all think about where your paradigm's coming from and then make sure they're aligned as much as possible. Personality, we are not aligned at all. But as far as our purpose in parenting, that future goal, that legacy goal, that raising adults, we are so aligned. And so our children know that, and we're going to back each other up. But one thing I was going to say earlier is that one thing we've noticed with being watching what general public parents are raising is so many of them are just doing what their neighbor's doing. It's keeping up with the Joneses.
They're busy.
And they're busy.
They're busy, so they're like, "Hey, here's a phone."
Yes.
And not realizing it's like comparable to saying popping the lid on your septic tank and say, "Go take a swim in the septic tank." They would never do it. But if they really realize what was on these phones, and Josh McDowell, for example, is like, what age do you want your child to, what's the best age
He's
to,
asked that question a lot.
like he's always asked, when do I allow my children to get a cell phone? And his answer is always, well, when you want them to look at pornography. And I mean, who wants their children to be addicted to porn? And that's, and like, that's why I make the comparison. It's just like, let's pop the lid on the septic tank and go.
Well, and that's good to think of. So we went to a conference and Josh McDowell was there speaking. And that was a pivotal moment in our parenting because, again, we didn't have children at that time of the age of giving them a phone or not. But he said, people ask me all the time, when should I give them a smartphone? And the question was, he answers, as soon as you're ready for them to look at pornography, because that's what'll happen. And I can remember thinking, no.
Or just wasting time. I like what a more of a time waster. I know we've basically been kicked out of a church, in part because we just made a stand that we want our children to not play video games and go outside and play and learn how to build things and play in the dirt and grow things.
We made other parents there feel judged
because we said, well, I mean, if you have video games and go plant a tree or garden or, do something with your hands or, read a book, I mean, that was condemning somehow. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And so you have to not worry that you may not have a friend at that moment. You may make some people mad. You may get kicked out of a church or encouraged to find a new church because honestly, you're kind of making everybody feel uncomfortable. It does make people feel uncomfortable when you say things like, we don't let our kids play video games. People ask all the time, well, why? That's ridiculous.
There's better things to do. It's not that there's anything necessarily, there may be some good video games. There's, a lot of that are bad. But anyway.
And there's real data behind that too, right?
Sure.
Absolutely.
How many people know the data of the fact that the very people that created the smartphones and all these apps, they don't even let their own children use it. That should tell us something.
Yeah. Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs, they would not allow their children to have them. And it's known that if a child is on a lot of screen time under the age of 5, it actually rewires their brain. Their actual brain waves are different from one child to the next.
Yeah.
And how their brain works.
So you've said a lot about video games and phones. What about devices? You think you guys live differently, have different convictions around devices?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. We
It's a battle. I mean, just having internet, we're unplugging it. It's plugged in right now, but I mean, we unplug it. We now are doing live worship at our church, so we really even need it for that. We do school here, so they do use it for school. But I mean, anytime that it is not like necessary, meaning there's some good that there's to be done, it's never on passively.
it's so different than the way we were raised, and I'm very sympathetic towards our age group because a lot of parents in our age bracket and younger, we are we are doing the best we can. I really think not many parents are parenting to be bad parents. Most parents out there want to do the best for their child. They don't want to give them a swim in the septic tank. The problem is they don't realize how bad it really is because we didn't grow up in this era. The worst that we did is prank call boys at midnight with our landline phone. That was the worst of it, or steal our parents' car and drive to the beach and jump in the, or go to a bad party and drink alcohol. That was about the worst that you got. Nowadays, our children can be back in their bedrooms. We're sleeping,
See,
thinking all's well. And our children are back on an X-rated video, and they're 13 years of age, and they don't even know what they're watching. They're learning not the birds and the bees. They're learning filth and disgust that's not even reality. And they don't even know that they can come talk to us. And we don't even know they're doing it because
it's called searing the conscience. And part of parenting is to maintain our children in a state of innocence. For example, we gave our oldest son the birds and the bee talk uh like right before the wedding started. Ethan just got married. That was the same for our three girls, and they didn't know anything about it before then. There was really and all four of them kissed for the first time on the altar. And there's really no need. The Bible says, "Don't light the fire of a passion of love before it's time." And Solomon, or some derivation thereof, but there's really no need for this fire to be lit inside of them until they have somewhere for it to go. And if there's no outlet, there's nowhere for it to go, then it's just trouble, and they want to feed it, and it needs to be fed. In a healthy marriage where there's like-mindedness, they're equally yoked, they're loving God and each other and the Word, and they're growing together in Christ. Not like, okay, well, let's just have a boyfriend to have a boyfriend, or a girlfriend to have a girlfriend. Let's just, oh, they got to sow their oats. They got to have all these relationships to find out what they really like. I mean, what they really need in ancient times, and even today. I mean, there's betrothals, there's kind of a setting up of, in wisdom, parents bringing their children together and giving that blessing.
When you talk about a paradigm shift, one moment that I could pinpoint where we changed our mindsets, because see, we both grew up in the dating days. Speaking of, and I'm going to go back to your question on devices. I won't forget. I wrote it down. But we came from the dating world. So I sadly can say I probably had in the upwards of 30 boyfriends before I got married. I started dating. I was allowed to date when I don't even know if I had an age. Kissed my first boyfriend in 5th grade at Catholic school behind the Statue of Mary. I mean, that was my childhood. Went from that to,
Encouraged by your parents.
but not necessarily encouraged, but
Well,
not
like, you've got to,
not discouraged,
yeah,
not
yeah,
told, protect yourself, keep yourself
save
pure.
yourself, yeah.
And so we went to a wedding when our oldest daughter was probably 13, watched this wedding go on. And for the first time in my life and the first time in my children's lives, we watched a wedding where the bride and groom kissed for the first time on the altar. And I was a little shocked because, our
Like,
profession is
you could do
wedding
that?
photography.
You can
And
do that? That's
I had,
possible?
I had seen so many weddings and I'd never seen this before. We saw first looks, we had seen, first dances, but we had never seen a first kiss on the altar.
And why is
And
that a thing? Like, you may kiss the bride. Like, if unless it was for the first time, why is that even a big deal?
right. And so our daughter McKenna turned around and looked at us and said, "That's what I want to do." And meaning her paradigm had shifted. She thought what we were teaching her, which was, do your best. Try to not have that many boyfriends and try to pick good ones. But I never thought
Well,
about
we'll help
teaching
you.
her,
We'll give you
"We'll help you."
wisdom.
But I never thought about encouraging her to raise the bar and not just settle and give away. You are your daughters are precious, precious gems and jewels. Why would we want them to cheapen themselves by giving a little piece of that away
and
to every boy that
and
comes around?
provides it. This is not to condemn people that have done this, in or to
Well, we
acolyze
didn't do
to.
it. We didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's this is we're first generation. This isn't, and at any time there's a pivot, you can change,
Right.
and what good, better, best. Why? And I think that's where there's so many concepts that we're sharing, and us as well. We're learning and growing. Good, better, best. I mean, there is a best, and what is the best? The best is God's word. The
Right.
best is kingdom minded.
I thought the fact that I got to marriage, saving my virginity, was the best. I had no clue. I never had anybody challenge me and say, that's not the best. I mean, that's a good idea, but it's not the best. And the best would be to, like our four children that we've married off, the first time they've ever held hands was with their husband or wife. The first time they ever kissed somebody was on the altar. They don't have pieces of them strewn all over Florida. They're giving their best to their spouse. That I give credit to the fact that we are surrounding ourselves with like-minded families whose children are also being encouraged to do that. And one of my favorite quotes is, "Show me your 5 closest friends and I'll show you your future," Charlie Kirk. And that works the same with your family dynamics and the way your children are going to turn out. Show me their 5 closest peers and I'll show you what they turn out to be. And so if all their peers are dating around, wearing immodest clothing, playing video games, going
Listening
into
to
debt,
music.
listening to garbage music.
It's not for. I mean, really, it just boils down: is it for Christ or is it against Christ? And it's an easy litmus test. Whatever, fill in the blank. Should I do this or should I not do this? Well, is it for Christ?
And I get a little excited because this is like my passion. But if you, as a married couple, if your 5 closest friends are in debt, the wife is constantly taking girl outings, the guy is constantly going on guy trips. If you're not spending time together, if your girlfriends are always running down their husbands, that's where you're going to end up. If
We just heard a study refer to that someone that's getting a divorce or a friend of somebody that's getting a divorce is about 70% chance they're gonna get a divorce.
Mhm.
So let me just say that again. If someone is divorced or getting a divorce, or the friend of that person is right at a 70% chance that they're gonna get a divorce.
Mm.
And if you're listening to if you're running down anyone, friends of anyone running down somebody else, you're not going to like that person, or you're going to hate your life, or going to commiserate, whatsoever things are pure, lovely, good, honest. If there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. I mean, this is a mandate.
We really rabbit trailed. I want to go back to devices really quick because I'm going to be very vulnerable and let people know that if you've made this mistake already, it's not too late to reverse. So,
Oh, it's got away in our house. We'll just be like, oh, wow, they're on it. They're on it. And
yeah.
then, whoa, okay, off. Just
Right.
cold
Well,
turkey.
that's what I was going to tell him. So about 5 years ago, we decided to do a Becca video school. A lot of homeschoolers are familiar with a Becca. We actually live in Pensacola, Florida area, so it's actually in this area. But we thought we'll do that we've tried everything homeschooling wise, but
It's where I went to college.
It's where he went. And so Becca's a great curriculum, but they had this video school that you can basically buy the CDs or you can do streaming and let your children. And so we thought, we're not going to do the CDs because I'm going to lose them. And they were like $12 a CD when you lose them or break them.
We can't even not scratch a CD.
I can't even imagine.
Time of CDs, yeah.
Yeah, ours will end up with scratches and food and in the cracks of our vehicles. So that was not an option. And so we decided to do the streaming option. So that
They
year,
all got devices. They all got computers.
that
they
year
all
I
had
bought what was it called?
like little tablet.
It was Kindles. It was Amazon Kindles. So I bought every child an Amazon Kindle, a case, a real pretty blue or pink, or I chose different colors, real padded. So when they dropped them, they wouldn't break the screen. Because I figured that would be the worst thing that would happen is they would break the screen. But honestly, that was nothing compared to what actually happened. So we let them have these Kindles. Well, I assumed they were just going to access the Abeka video school that their mom bought because I wanted them to be educated because I'm a good homeschool mom and that mattered. And obviously I'm being sarcastic because that really shouldn't have been my biggest priority. I wanted, honestly, for other homeschool moms to think, wow, she's really doing something. She can check those boxes. But what I failed to do, because I didn't grow up in this time frame, is I failed to realize that those devices were able to connect to the internet. And once you're on the World Wide Web, you literally have access to anything. And so I was giving my innocent little babies unfettered access to hell, to what, it was like a portal.
Yeah,
So
you can be
Satan,
watching fishing videos and then have some transgender whatever like pop up. And I was like, why would that be targeting a little child? Or just
or watching fishing videos because our son was really into fishing and he still is. We have 3 boats. And he really genuinely, he was 14, 13, just innocent, wanted to watch how, what bait do you put out? And so it
he
was,
wants to be a commercial fisherman. So we're like, oh yeah, that's
let's let him watch fishing videos. We had it set up in our living room, no big deal. Everybody could see it.
and then it wound up being in their bedroom watching
Wound up saying, hey,
YouTube,
Dad, can I
watching
watch it in my bedroom?
well,
As
not really permission even. Just they just tend to make it everywhere, and that's the problem.
And what happened was those fishing videos that started out with, 2 guys doing fishing, maybe having a beer in their hand. That might have been the worst influence, but we didn't really think much of that. Then their fishing partner was a female wearing a bikini, and slowly but surely those videos just degraded and degraded.
And of course, the hot bikini chick is the reason that they're putting her on there to sell their whatever.
Yeah, because they know exactly how old our son was, what his interests would have been, and they knew that eye candy. And so thankfully, we were able to catch it before it got really, really bad. But it's, I was telling him at that moment, what do parents that aren't aware of what their children are looking at? We're super diligent. So we were constantly checking, but of course we missed a couple moments.
So we just basically quit the whole Abeka streaming and just went to DVDs.
I called Abeka
like cold
up
turkey, and we're like,
and I said, cancel me completely. Send me those little $12 CDs. If the worst thing I have to do is pay to replace them every time I break them or scratch them, so be it. I said, get this filth out of my house. And I remember the lady going, what do you mean? And I said, listen, it's not your curriculum. It's that your curriculum has to be played on a device, and that device has to be connected to the internet. And that internet is out
A
to
portal.
Destroy my family. And it
portal
wasn't
to-
worth it to me.
And even with all the stuff, that you get that, supposedly guards, it only works to a point. And I mean, the days of the catalog and pornography, just go to the section of whatever to look at clothes. I mean, you're going to see soft porn
Yeah.
And
stuff.
so, even in the lesson of homeschooling and devices, you're not even fitting into the homeschooling model because you're choosing to be different
Sure.
because you want to protect,
Yeah.
the people God's entrusted you with.
And we had to do a harder thing. So much easier to stick a screen in front of them and let them teach themselves. We had to actually do something that was more difficult and be more hands-on. We had to provide a little old school. I had to go on Marketplace and find those little old school DVD players. I thought,
Yeah.
and they don't hardly sell them anymore. And I didn't want to go spend another $100 because I just bought the devices that I broke in half and threw in the garbage. Because my children, what they were end up looking at to me was so much more valuable and important than whether they could learn algebra conveniently. Homeschooling doesn't need to be convenient. We have to realize that the end goal is to keep our children's hearts and to protect their innocence, even if it means doing hard things. So even some of our homeschool peers felt like, you guys are weird. That's a little extreme, but I knew something they didn't know. And so I'm constantly encouraging moms, check and see what their devices are. It amazes me how many parents, good Christian families, will hand a device to their 9, 10, 12-year-old just to be culturally relevant. They just want to fit in and they'll make excuses. Well, my child's now babysitting, or now my child's, staying at home and they need a phone, or my child has a car they have to drive. That is excuses. That is garbage. I was my child's GPS for years. What does that mean? He had a flip phone with no GPS. He had to call me and I would get my
And
phone
run a
out
business.
and GPS for him and say, turn
That's
right, turn right. Okay, are you at
internet.
this street?
You
Okay,
have
turn
internet.
left. Now, okay, stop. I did that for years for him because it was more important for him not to be tempted by what garbage was going to come across the screen than it was for me to be possibly woken up at 7 a.m. as he's heading to work, or needing to find some place because he's lost. What happened to atlases or maps, But yes, it's definitely a grit against the grain, but it's so worth it. It's another reason why we might be called weird. So worth it.
Every arrow takes aim, every acre takes work, every covenant kept when it hurts. Keep going, keep building, you're not on your